All right, welcome to this War Media Trade Deadline special. I am Saul Rodriguez. I am joined by the host of That Davis Show and one of Kyle Means' NBC Sports Chicago colleagues. You can watch him covering the Bears on the Under Center podcast on NBC Sports Chicago. It is Ken Davis. And we're also joined by the co-founder of War Media and former host of D and Davis Show, Demonze Spurl. How are we doing today, guys? Let's start with you, Ken. How you doing?
I'm well, man. I'm happy to be here. So here with you, Saul. Saul, I gotta say it faster. Saul. Saul. Yeah. I'm here with you, and I'm here with my brother in arms forever. So look, times can be greater, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Demonze? How you doing?
It's that same thing, man. You know what I'm saying? I always love to hop on the, as we say, the virtual now, and talk a little sports and with my brother forever. As Ken said, you know what I'm saying, we started doing this about 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? He's still doing it, kicking ass, whatever like that. They will me out of retirement every once in a while. So I come out, I just flip shit over and I go back into retirement. But other than that, man, I'm great. You know what I'm saying? Love to be back here. Let's talk some Bears.
Nice. No, yeah, glad to have you guys on. First time the three of us are on together, so let's get this thing going. So crazy day, trade deadline. I think Kyle came on before and let us know that it was a record of deals today that happened. But we'll start with the hometown Bears. We of course have had some time to process the Robert Quinn deal, to the Philadelphia Eagles, the Roquan Smith deal with the Baltimore Ravens. And today, of course, the Bears dealt a second-round draft pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a Chase Claypool. I just want to get your thoughts overall, guys, on the Bears' moves in general. Going from the Robert Quinn deal to the Roquan Smith deal to the Chase Claypool. What are you guys' overall thoughts? We start with you, Demonze.
You know what, man? I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. Honestly, the Robert Quinn one was the one that kind of jumped out at me at first. Like, okay, we doing this. We rebuilding now. Okay, all right, cool. So, say he's 32 years old. I mean, did he have a couple of years left on this deal? I think
two. Two that they voided him out. He doesn't, so he'll be a free agent after the season.
Right. So, he had a little time left on his contract, which, he had a great year last year. Was playing okay, I guess, this year. I mean, it might be a little bit generous, but I understood that. Roquan Smith, that one actually I saw coming like, a freight train coming to me, right? So on a chat with my boys, whatever like that, and at the end of the game, I basically say like, yo, what would it take? What could we get for Roquan Smith? What could the Bears get for Roquan Smith? And, second, third was out there, So I kind of saw it coming, like this team isn't going anywhere. They're not re-signing him. He doesn't really want to be here. And he got laid out by, what's the Commanders' quarterback now? We get the bomb hand. Carson Wentz. Mm-hmm. Got back by Carson Wentz. Anytime he would have walked into the office and I was Ryan Poole and he's like, yo, I want that money. I just would have hit play right there. Like, this is what you want me to give you? What? No. So I know it wasn't going to happen. So that one makes a lot of sense. He's 25 years old. He's going to a team who's a contender. And same thing with Quinn. Going to a team that's definitely contender. They're undefeated in the Eagles. So it's a win-win for everybody. You know what I'm saying? He's going somewhere. I'm sure they might have a deal lined up for them possibly. He's going to do great in Baltimore. And the Bears got a draft pick. And that goes to Clay, who they picked up from the Steelers today. And basically did a trade for Clay for Roquan Smith. That's basically kind of like what it was, right? Because it's a second round pick. So I'm all for it. You got to break this team down. It's good to see that Poles will ever bring Clay in to get some help. He should be, in my opinion, the number one receiver now on his team. Some help, maybe get some depth to the wide receiver position. So I'm here for it. I knew this season was going to be kind of a wash. What do you want to see? Growth and development from Justin Fields. And for the past couple of weeks, we have seen growth and development from Justin Fields. Everything else, Pools, Eberflus, you take care of that. So I'm all for it. I'm here for it.
Growth and development, I could tell you from Inglewood. I know who your fan base or who you're connected to, your association. But Eastside. No, real quick, of course. So just for anybody that doesn't know, not to say we all here all know, the Bears traded their second round pick, which I think we all would believe would be the higher pick in the second round, to the Steelers. We also come to find out that the Steelers were contacted by the Green Bay Packers allegedly, and the Green Bay was going to give them a second round pick. So that's why perhaps the Bears had to sweeten it, because initially they probably did offer the Ravens pick for Claypool. The Robert Quinn situation, I'm always going to have an affinity for Robert Quinn. It's so weird looking at a guy who had polar opposite seasons and was only here for 2 years and 7 games.
Yeah,
but I have an affinity for him, just because seeing him have a bad year, how he came back from it, you have to admire that. Yeah. And then some of the things that you hear that may have been the issues with him and why he had such a bad year that first year, and for him to persevere through it, is something that I hope if I was put in this situation, I could be the same type of man or person in general that Robert Quinn exhibited in that situation. Roquan is funny. We were talking about this in our text thread. I didn't say at the time this Sunday trade him, but I said on the center, I'm not paying him. Like he hasn't performed well enough at will to be like, yo, we need him. He's going to thrive as a Raven. They're going to, so for people, you're going to be like, man, why don't we still have him? Because that system fits him better.
It's 3-4 defense out there, Ken?
Yes. They've always primarily played, and it's 3-4 defense. It fits him. All right. He's an interior linebacker in a 3-4. In some ways, coverage-wise, it won't ask as much perhaps as he was in this situation. But it just, not to say that he was bad at will, he just wasn't great. As a middle linebacker, he's great. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's all going along with the fact that they didn't want to pay him already. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I thought they got enough back for Roquan when you get a second and a fifth when they have to sign him.
Absolutely.
Like, that's the thing. Like, when people sometimes, when you're talking about trading, it's the difference if I trade someone and they have 2 years left at a reasonable salary. So that adds value to what the trade collateral you would send back to me. He's someone that they either has to franchise tag and he'll be in the top percentages, 5% of linebackers, whatever inside linebackers, or you have to pay, and he's looking to get annually $20 million a season. So it didn't make sense here, you know, and it's going to hurt the Bears defense. And even regardless of what I said, he's also leading the NFL in tackles with 83. It's going to hurt their defense this year not to have Roquan there, period. It's going to hurt the defense because he was a leader on that defense, just like Robert Quinn. You know what I'm saying? So now you're putting a hole in that locker room where they had 2 leaders that are now gone. But Eddie Jackson has turned it around, which if you asked me before the season, I didn't expect for Eddie Jackson to turn it around.
That's because Eddie Jackson can be Eddie Jackson.
Right.
He got you a strong side safety, and you got you another good corner. He's able to now just play.
But you know what? And he'll never be a sure tackler, but you still see him not ankle tackling running backs behind the line of scrimmage. Like, even as far as things when you just say, not you, D, but a ball hawk and a free safety, he's still sometimes playing in the box and he's winning. He's winning. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't expect it, and I want to give him his props because I didn't expect it whatsoever. Yeah. Chase Claypool, Chase Claypool is interesting. Coming out of ND, I kind of wanted a little Chase Claypool.
Was he a tight end, Ken?
No, he was been, because Cole Kmet was a tight end there when he was there. I thought
he played a little tight end too.
But you know, I'll say this: he could have. He's
big. He's a big boy.
He's very big. But he could. But I remember him about the last season or so, last couple of seasons being a wideout. But I could be wrong because I don't pay as much attention to Notre Dame as I did in my youth. And since they fired Tyrone Willingham. Yes. But that's for another day. I won't even go into that. But still, I didn't know that he was having some immaturity issues that he exhibited in the Steelers, as far as, you know, some on routes where he's not getting the ball, not running them hard. I don't know if he's been late or something, but it just seems like a couple of immaturity issues that I kind of didn't know about prior to this trade, which, you know, saying just look, checking out. What are you about to say, D?
No, that, you know what? I love Mike Tomlin. Like, I wish that he was here in Chicago. He's a coach that I would play for. So to hear that you having immaturity issues, which I mean, look at Antonio Brown, and we talked about that plenty of times on the Ian Davis show. The fact that they were still winning.
It happened with Juju too. Remember, Juju
happened
kept
with-
dancing.
Yeah,
and
that's
he,
true.
like, hey,
That's
stop
true.
doing that.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I was
true,
gonna. I was gonna say. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that. That's Juju Smith-Schuster and Chase Claypool. They kind of had the same thing going on where
Yeah.
they kind of. It seemed like they weren't really all there. When it came to like game time and being focused as much as they should have been. They're young guys, but at the same time, you're in the NFL. You gotta suit up. So it's like, yeah. What were you gonna
If
say?
you're not playing hard and understanding your career, I'll put it like that, career under Mike Tomlin, that does kind of scare me. But maybe a change of scenery that happens a lot, and hopefully, maybe it just wasn't a good fit. I ain't trying to say Mike Tomlin walk on water, but maybe it just couldn't have been a good fit up in Pittsburgh. And it's like, good scenery. I mean, a change of scenery, I should say, here in Chicago, because I'm really a fan of this coaching staff. I really am for the Bears. I am. So maybe things can change. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's definitely what I think too. Like, I think a change of scenery is a real thing. Like, I don't know, some people may not believe it or see it, but I think with players like that, especially younger players, they come to a new team, they kind of, hey, they don't know me that well, so I can build a better, reputation out with them. And so I like the Chase Claypool deal, because I've seen a lot of people talk about it negatively and saying, oh, well, the Bears last thing, the last thing the Bears need is drama. And it's like, you know what? I think that they'll be able to deal with that, and hopefully everything works out. But also with the Roquan Smith deal as well, I was, it's all I saw as well was negativity online too. Is people just, and it was a complete opposite of what you were saying, Ken. Because I agree with you. What you were saying is that, and what Demonze said too, is that they weren't going to pay him. So I didn't see a point either in the fact of keeping him, and because both sides didn't seem to be sitting well with each other. So I think that was the right thing to do.
I understand why fans were upset about the move, because one of our close friends, Weekend Gabe Mendoza, he hopped into our chat and was like, man, I was, saying he wasn't that happy about the trade as well. But I can understand that, because people still want to see their team win. And having Roquan Smith on the field gives them a better chance to win. Now, as Ken has perfectly laid out, he's a great linebacker. Right now in this system, he's not doing that well. So he's not be able to show you his complete talent, if you want to say. Whether off-field stuff or dealing with the front office, he's still not able to show you what he can do. And it's not the right place here. You know what I'm saying? So I understand why fans are upset, but you got to think long. You got to think long. Think bigger picture. It's just not here. Listen, it's a good deal for both sides. Let that young brother move on. Let him do his thing in Baltimore, which I hope the Bulls do with Patrick Williams. Move on from him, but that's another show. But yeah, I can understand that. But you got to think big picture, y'all, big picture.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sorry, Saul.
No, you're good.
I don't even think what a second rounder is in the NFL, because that's like what the mid to late end of the first round in the NBA. I don't know if you can get that for Patrick Williams, to be honest with you now.
You can.
All right, back to football though. Listen,
we'll be right back on Open Run. you guys got to come on Open Run now.
Okay, look, definitely.
Yeah.
There you go.
D just clicked on it. It's a rebuild, y'all.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, and it's like, I'm not going to say everything that Ryan Post does I'm going to sit there and support. But I have to see at the beginning what he's doing, and he's keeping true to what he's supposed to be doing. He's tearing it down to build it up. And there's going to be players that you have an affinity for that are going to be moved due to those actions. And we saw two of them. And unfortunately, one of them was a younger player in Roquan at just 25 years old. But it made sense to me what they did, and also what he received in return for Roquan. And don't hate on Roquan. One, wish Roquan success on where he's going, but also look at what the Bears are doing, and look at what the Chase Claypool move says. I thought they perhaps were all in on Justin, but I'll say this: the last 3 weeks, we've clearly seen that they've seen what we've seen, right? And they know that they're going to defensively, they're going to get whipped defensively, but they're actually clicking on offense. And this dog, think about us here. They're scoring over 20 points all the last game. Like, what? 20. I know it was 49 on the opposite side. They put up 29 points on one of the best defenses in the league. Dog, I didn't even know some of those studs the Cowboys had. I knew DeMarcus Lawrence and Mika Fitzpatrick. The Wilson kid, the Curse kid, they got freaks all around that damn thing, right?
They got a good defense.
I was like, Jerry, if Jerry left the coach alone, they would be better. Not Mike McCarthy. You don't leave him alone, but better coaches alone. But when it comes to picking these players, Jerry, man, is knocking it out the park, right? Dog, they safety like 6'4". Like, what?
They got talent all over that.
What type of men are these? So a team like that, who only the Eagles had the Eagles scored less points. I believe the Eagles scored 26 points. And look at the Eagles got the whip all around. So they were going up against a talented Eagles team. Justin Fields did that by himself, all right? Like against that team, rising tides rise all ships, and he's the tide now. And now you're giving him another weapon in Claypool so we can see. So, I mean, for me, and I said this on yesterday's podcast for Under Center, listen, as long as Justin is stacking positive games, game after game, that's all I really care about this year, to be honest with you. You know, like, because at least when you finally take away that you have a quarterback, and how many drafts do we go into and you're like, man, I want that quarterback. Like, I don't have to worry. And the thing, of course, is, and now shout out to Ryan Post for this. Ryan Post is also securing that he's going to get like a top 6 pick, right?
Oh, absolutely.
A couple of those wins that made a win over are gone. And they're probably
gone now. Yep.
Another loss back, right? They may get 5 victories in this bad boy. I think I had them 6 or 7. Or whatever.
I had them 4 and 6. Well, between 4 and 6.
Okay. So now you put them in a situation where you've locked in because your defense is depleted, that you're going to lose games, but you've helped the side of the ball that's most important, or the player that's most important on this team, not just side of the ball, and Justin Fields. And now we enter the scenario in the draft to where all these teams, particularly in the NFC, that don't have quarterbacks in this quarterback-rich draft, can come up and we can trade and we can acquire more picks.
Yes, that's a
finally,
good point.
We can be smart and move about the draft in a Belichickian or Eagles, or even when you look at the Dolphins in that type of luring way with the Eagles, like we finally can do things like that. And if this gentleman and Ryan Poles is successful, him and Ian Cunningham, at picking out talent, we really cooking with grease. So again, you got to take a step back before you take 4 steps forward.
Always remember, everybody, football, you can go from last to first very quickly. When Ken and I first started doing our shows, we had a show called Football Island. One team that we used to always talk about was the New York Giants. They would be trash the year before, and we would come on a show like, man, they probably gonna win a Super Bowl, and they did it twice. The Bears have like, was it 120 on the salary cap?
Yeah, it's from anywhere from 100 to 120, but yeah,
something like that, right? So I mean, they have the money. Do you want to spend some of that money on Roquan Smith, who's not fitting your system and not fitting your culture? Really? No, you probably don't want to, right? So I don't know. I think Bears fans, I understand why they're upset, but you got to look at the big picture. Go ahead, kid.
And also, like, I was watching that 49ers game, man, and just seeing, I mean, just Warner out there, it was like, I don't think Roquan is this. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're talking about paying an off-ball linebacker, that type of cash, I'm like, because it's just in coverage sometimes, and it's kind of not him. It's, again, and this is my my naive opinion, it's kind of how he's built. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of gotta be like, he's a very compact man. You know what I'm saying? As far as how he's built. And I was just listening to Shannon Sharp talking to Dwight Howard, who's applying for all teams with contentions right now. I didn't even know Dwight Howard wasn't.
I thought he was about to be a wrestler. He tried out the WWE.
I didn't even know he wasn't in the league till they started running these clips the other day. But he was talking about, I didn't. He was talking, I was for sure he was on somebody, like the Lakers, or I thought he was on somebody's bench. But he was talking about how he used to bench press 400 pounds, and he was using that as an excuse on why he couldn't shoot free throws or whatever. And Shannon Sharp was like, the basketball weighs 2 pounds. Why are you benching that, right? And the thing is, like, when I look
You
at
get shot.
Roquan, he's not long, even with, not to say you have to be tall to be long. He's not as long as some of these guys who get, and he's got what, seven, I believe, 7 interceptions in his career. But I'm talking about like these guys that consistently at linebacker are getting interceptions throughout, and the things that you're asking them to do in coverage, particularly now being that he's playing weak side. But again, I'm not trying to take shots at Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith,
man.
he's a very talented, excellent player. But I'm always, as a fan, concerned about paying a player. First of all, I want him to get his money from the Ravens or in free agency.
Yes.
But I'm always concerned about, man, I feel like when they're gonna pay him, there are times I'm gonna look at, damn, if we wasn't giving him that. And that's where I was at with, if Roquan gets paid, that in some ways it's always going to be like, yeah, it's particularly at weak side linebacker, like, yeah, he's good, but he's not so and so, but he's making so and so type money. And especially when you're talking about a chunk of 20 million per season, where that can be your next defensive end or three technique. I mean, you got to be killing a three technique to get 20 million. But that can, there are positions in this system that you need that. And you can get you a new weak side stud in the second round.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and start him off on a rookie contract rather than the situation that there. It really was just a bad situation, going along with the fact that perhaps some people say, at NBC Sports, Dave Wannstedt said that if he has an agent, that he feels like this wouldn't happen. I don't know. Dave Wannstedt knows more about it than I do, but I don't know if it was just him representing himself and not having that buffer between where things may have not gotten as contentious. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think it would.
Yeah, I think he still would have happened like this because, to be honest with you, I think that in a good way, Ryan Poles is calculated and is not using his feelings with his evaluations. I hope he continues to do that for the most part when they're players he drafted. Again, for the most part, because there are exceptions to the rule, right? But I hope he continues to do that because Demonze mentioned, on Dean Davis. I remember a Saturday that we were doing our show and we were sitting there talking Bears, I believe. And they announced, and this is when you had Phil Emery and Mark Trestman as the general manager and the head coach. And they announced that they extended Jay Cutler. And I tore into them because it made no sense when they didn't trade for him. To just not tag him and see if him and Trestman can form that bond the next year. You don't give him 4 more years or whatever they gave him and now anchor yourself to him. And it made no sense why a general manager who had nothing to do with acquiring him decided, I'm going to attach my ship to him. And so that to me is where I see a difference in Ryan Poles, to where he's not making that same mistake with the player who has a much more stellar career at this point than what Jay had. Jay still was just living off potential and his physical traits were. You know what I'm saying? That's what really Jay was living. He could be. He was living off of that, and having an offensive minded head coach. But it didn't make sense, and I'm happy Poles as of right now hasn't exhibited the same miscalculation that I feel like Phil Emery did in the past.
No, yeah, it's made some good points. And then finally, what I want to ask you guys is, what grade do you guys give this front office? They made some right decisions, and they made some decisions that a lot of people have been pondering over the past few days. But for you guys, what grade would you guys give them? Since all is said and done now with the trade deadline. We'll start with you, Ken.
I hadn't thought about that as much. I guess I would say a B. I don't want to give them an A because I have to see what they do with the draft picks. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but one, you moved off of the players you should have. I mean, I think also this has to do with your word. I think they kind of told, you know what I'm saying, and this is just my opinion. They told Robert Quinn, look, we'll take care of you. Just come to camp, right? Like everything we heard is true. Robert Quinn wanted more money. He's going to get it. That's why the Eagles promised him that the rest of his 2 years of his contract are void, so he can get back out there and get his money. right?
Mhm.
So I think they told him that, and I don't know what they do or type of thing they told Roquan. They had to tell him something, because I'll be honest with you, and I said this on Under Center. I kind of thought that partially, definitely because of Robert Quinn being traded, but I also thought maybe he knew something about himself last week when he broke down at that press conference.
You think
And
so?
because you got to think about it, he's his own agent. You always going to tell the agent, yo, just so you know, we are looking into blah blah skippy woo woo as far as perhaps there. You don't usually if in
You talking about
faith,
that buffer, not having that buffer. He's getting it firsthand instead of second.
Yeah, because they have to give him a heads up. There's a chance. We're not saying we're trading you, but there is a chance. And then you see Robert Quinn go out that door, and you start thinking about your mortality as a Bear. You know what I'm saying? As far as like, damn, it could happen. Again, this is just my opinion, but I would think they didn't blindside him. Now, I could be wrong. It may not have been last week where they gave him a heads up, but when you're putting out feelers and stuff, and you know that something, like, think about it. The Ravens probably had contacted them within the last weeks or month. Like, no, our linebacker situation is not right. He looks like he would be nice in our system. So that deal was probably on the table. You know what I'm saying? And he doesn't have an agent. So who gets that information that, yo, there's a chance? You know what I'm saying? So
and again, how old is Roquan? 25?
25 years old. Still young. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Still a young player, but you know, by the time he's 27, 28, and not to say he won't be the same guy, that maybe there's a chance, like, because I think it's easy, and I have to watch for myself doing it. It's easy. He's gone bashing him when if he was here, I mean, even though I've been like, yo, when he wasn't popping at the beginning of the season, because he kind of didn't have his really good game until the Texans game, right? I say he had 3 good games. We're talking about on Under Center. Josh Schrock, our Bears insider, was like maybe 2. But we know this last game wasn't one of them.
No.
All right. And there's been too many times where he's gotten shook out of his socks. D mentioned the Carson. I don't care about the stiff arm as much because stuff like that. Everybody gets embarrassed on the football field. All right. That's the
Tom Brady juked Brian Urlacher.
I was gonna say that. Remember when the bus stiff arm him to death. Like everybody, forget football. All right. System translated. On sports, everyone gets embarrassed. All right, there are times that something happened to me on the football field. My first thought was to look up and see if my father was looking at the stand. Daddy, did you see? Oh Lord, that man! Look, we were doing a stunt, and he didn't stunt, Dad. Right. I got blown up because my other tackle, he didn't stunt with me, right? So just like it has. So that to me, it doesn't bother me. It happens, but. Again, I think that they're doing the right thing. Hopefully, Chase Claypool can help and be an answer. And this is my last part. Why I like the Claypool trade. Again, we could argue about was it a little bit too much or not. It's because, man, listen, we were sitting there and I don't know if this, I feel like this was I don't know if this thread with D and I was on, but I feel like it was. Somebody here was like, yo, the Bears need to trade and get a lineman, an offensive lineman. And they spelled it M-A-N. And I replied back, no. Linemen with M-E-N. They need more than one. Right? Yeah. And that's the same thing at receiver. Like if anybody was thinking, one, we all know the free agency pool this upcoming offseason is poor compared to others. Right. And you had to get someone who's been in the league if you were going to really round out and also draft a wide receiver. You couldn't just say, you're going to be Green Bay and be like, I'm drafting 2 youngsters to come in here and they're going to do it. They haven't played in the NFL and pray, because I wanted Christian Watson. Guess what? It wouldn't have worked. It's as of right now, not to say in the long run that Christian Watson won't get on, you know what I'm saying? But just as far as all that youth in all those positions with people that haven't done it on this level. So now where you still have to get enough, definitely another kind of studish wide receiver, but at least you've taken kind of care of it already to where you don't have to go out and free agency. Maybe you can solve this through the draft or perhaps free agency. You don't have to double dip, and you can perhaps instead of it, and I don't know if they ever were going to use the first round pick on a wide receiver, but now you don't have to. You can wait till the second round and get perhaps the best wide receiver that's on the board than rather going swinging for the fences in the first round. And now truly in the first round, if they want to, they can go best player available wherever they're at. And you know what I'm saying? So that to me is where I feel like they really help themselves. And I'm gonna give them a B plus. So since I just talked myself into it, I'm gonna give them a little B plus. Let me give them a little curve. I'm gonna grade that on the little curve. But that's it.
For me, I think Ken is a little bit more gracious than I'll be. I'm gonna go. I was gonna say incomplete because, as Ken said, I want to see the draft. Like, Pose is making moves. All right, cool. What you gonna do with it? Danny Ainge had that though. Huh?
Gotta set yourself.
Yeah, you do. That's what I'm saying. I like where you're going. Like Danny Ainge had like 1,000 draft picks. I mean, he used all of them. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'll go with a B because you're setting yourself up for a good off season next year. That's what you want, right? You want to go into the season. Coming out of a season like this, we know it's going to be rough. You want to set yourself up to at least have a good offseason. You have wide receiver depth. Now you have Claypool, Mooney. I like Harry because of his size, right? And you peg St. Brown. He's a big dude too. So they got size now with a speedster in Mooney. So now you're at least able to kind of like do a few things differently. You're kind of like knocking some guys down a peg, which they probably should be. Like, I don't think Mooney is a number one. Mooney at the best would be at number two. But let's see where he's at right now. So I like the depth where they're creating on the offensive side of the ball with Justin Fields because he's the priority. But when it comes to the defense, man, it's really going to, in my opinion, it's going to come down to the draft. You need to definitely get you a tackle. You need to get you a pass rusher if possible. Now, it's going to be throughout the draft, I should say. As Ken stated before, you're now in a position where you can do some more wheeling and dealing to get even more picks to solidify your depth. They definitely got to do that, and now they got to look at linebacker. Get you another corner, too. Maybe you could sign a corner to kind of knock what's my man? Vendor down a peg. Exactly, right. Knock him down a peg a little bit. Not in a bad way, but more depth. Add more depth. So the defensive side of the ball is what I'm still kind of curious to see what they do. But the offensive side of the ball, I like where they're going. And like I said before, I like their coaching. One thing that's been fabulous for this Bears team so far this year, they've been great second half teams.
Crazy.
That second half against the Cowboys, there was a few things didn't go the way it planned to go. But I mean, you're talking about one of the best teams, if not one of the best defenses in the league. And they could have had more than 29 points. They didn't go for them damn 2-point conversions. I hate them. I hate 2-point conversions.
Oh, so my goodness. I argue about this on Under Center all the time.
Why?
They're not good enough. They're not good enough to go for 2-point conversions.
You think you're a dime when you're really a 7. Maybe a 6. Maybe I'm doing 2. They ain't really a 5 when you think you're a dime. Don't do that to yourself. You're setting yourself up for failure. Don't do it. So I would give them a B. Just because I like where they're going. But man, listen, you gotta see what that draft do. And I know really in draft classes, you really don't know what you have until they're like really 2 years. You have the depth and you can do some more wheeling and dealing. Hey, you might be able to get another starter, a stud out of all those picks you have. You might be able to do something. So I like where they're going. I like what Pose is doing, but we have to see how it flushes out, I should say.
Real quick. Also, I think I'm a big Matty Beflus guy. And I think what they're going to lean into is the fact that your head coach seems to be a defensive-minded wonderkin. And I mean, he's not young, but that, all right, now he's building the culture. Him and Alan Williams are building the culture. And that they can supplant and bring in the people they want because he can get that rolling a lot faster. But I also want to point this out, D, to why you were talking about Danny Manning and his picks. Those picks and everything that he did went to the NBA Finals last year.
They did.
So it he wasn't there, but that was his team that went there. So if you can sit there and you can hit out the park and do what Danny Manning did you know what I'm saying, you may be setting it up for someone else, but still,
hey, listen, with the McCaskies, I would think because they're on board for this. They're
clearly
on board, whatever.
And he runs the show. He runs Ryan Poles runs this. They traded Roquan. Did you hear George McCaskey talk about the players that he liked at the end of last year's press conference? He mentioned Montgomery and he mentioned Roquan Smith. Yeah. They traded Roquan Smith. All right, to let you know, this is Ryan Poles'. He's running this show and they're letting him do it. And the way he's doing it, I like, because if he fails, it's all on him, but it's not a Band-Aid. And that's what Bears fans have to get out of their head. Everyone wanted Khalil Mack to still be here. Why?
He wasn't even on the field that much.
Yeah, but that reign, it didn't work, you all. It didn't work. And you trying to extend what was here and not working with, remember how old this roster was too, right? The oldest roster in the league, trying to extend that when it had to be redone and wait to redo it 2 years. And then you're on the clock. If it doesn't happen in the next 3, he said, no. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to tear it down and I'm going to build my foundation. The question will be how well he is at building up and building a foundation.
And the last point you mentioned, David Montgomery, his contract is up at the end of this season. He might not be here either.
May not.
His name
Give him
was
a little coin though. Give him a little. If he doesn't if he's not a break the bank, because I don't know how many.
He is.
I would keep him and Khalil Herbert together. I would keep them together because, and I like the Tristan Ebner grab. Tristan Ebner hasn't shown it. In preseason, he was showing it more. Yeah. But I think you should keep, especially, I'll say this, especially for the next couple years, Justin needs that tandem or a tandem.
Absolutely. 3 games over 200 rushing. 3 games in a row.
It's first time since 1968.
Yep.
All right, since they've done something like that. So and look, it'll be different if we're talking. Well, y'all playing old school football. That stuff doesn't. Look at the points that they're putting up while they're doing it. You know what I'm saying? So David Montgomery, I think I would keep around if it's not like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous to give this running back this money. And I know running backs don't get paid, but I'd be interested in keeping him because one, pass protection with Khalil Herbert necessarily isn't strong, but also just giving him that amount of carries. And look, throughout the season, one of them probably is going to miss some games anyway. And at least you have a very viable runner if one of them goes out.
And Montgomery already missed some games, and he was missing in that New York Giants game. And how many times they get down to the red zone? 4 or 5 times, couldn't get into the end zone. That's when you missed him. So I like what they have with Montgomery. We'll see what he's, wants to get as far as a contract. I hope they keep him. But like I said, man, you can get you another running back.
You can. You totally can.
Yeah, that's you make a good point too, Ken. When you talk about David Montgomery, that's what I was thinking too. The fact that because I fully expected, they got rid of Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn. I was like, well, Montgomery's next, and the fact that they didn't let him go, I think does say a little bit of something in the sense of maybe they want to keep him around.
They building something with that backfield, man. They building something.
Yeah. So I think I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's one of the things that we're talking about, and our reporters and Josh and Alex were really saying is like, how deep of a cut are you going to do in that locker room with their leaders?
Yeah.
And I asked Adam Amin, which the pod should drop. When are you putting this out? You putting this out tomorrow? Y'all putting this out tomorrow today? If this
Wednesday.
Yeah. So today on the Under Center podcast, also check it out at 5:30 p.m. on NBC Sports.
That's right.
Chicago. I asked Adam Amin that question. I said, how far, like, what's the balance? Because you look at all the sports that Adam Amin covers. I said, what's the balance in doing something like that? Because at one point, can't we say the coach is supposed to be the culture? And he said, it's tiered. And he said, all right, you already took 2 guys off the top tier. Now you start carving into that second tier where he had Montgomery at, and everybody's going to start looking around like, whoa, what am I going to be here? So I just think for that reason, but also I just like David Montgomery. He is very easy to like from the type of character that he's shown and due diligence that he shows in his craft. And I would like for him to be around if he would take a 2-year deal with an option. I don't know how many options we get in football. Like that's a basketball type. We get an option, players option on that bad boy. But if they could find some happy medium, and I'll say this too, you were going to, if people wanted Roquan Smith to get 20 million, you can give David Montgomery a $35 million deal with 20 of it guaranteed. You know what I'm saying? Like where it wouldn't demoralize you when you have $100 to $120 million. And I'll say this too, Bears fans. I don't know if they're gonna, because people keep saying like they're gonna spend the whole $100 million in this offseason.
No, not this.
Yeah.
Right. Like people be like, man, like I think they're gonna leave for some of that in the cubby.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And also look at what they can draft so that they don't have to, because Ryan Post said this in his introduction press conference. You're paying free agents for what they did in the past, basically. Mm-hmm. So you want to catch them on the upswing and you can let them go, but try to build through the draft and then use the money that they have in the coffers for, all right, we're not hitting here at outside rush defensive end. Let me just pay for this defensive end. You know what I'm saying? So I don't necessarily see, we keep saying that they're going to go and spend all of the piggy bank this offseason.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I was saying too. On the, I did a piece or a pod with Lakina and Ryan, and we were talking about that too. I was like, a lot of people think that they're gonna fix everything this offseason. That's not the case, especially with as you guys said too, the fact that there's not much there anyways. So I think that's one of the main reasons why I don't think they're gonna get any, everything done. But let's shift to the rest of the league. A lot of deals went down. The Vikings acquired tight end TJ Hawkinson from the Lions. Dolphins traded for the Broncos Bradley Chubb, sending Chase Edmonds to the Broncos. 49ers received Jeff Wilson Jr. from the Dolphins. Calvin Ridley went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So for you guys, what deal stood out the most, and who do you think won the trade deadline? We'll start you, Demonze.
I like, Chubb. I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
he was on the market.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing this every day like we were in the back in the day, so I wasn't expecting that one. That one kind of jumped out to me. And Ridley, he going down to Jacksonville. Now, I guess you got Trevor Lawrence down there. You have a quarterback that's in his second year. I mean, he's the guy. He was the number one pick overall. So I guess you want to try to give him some talent right there. Now, Calvin Ridley, that was pretty big. But for me, really, it's the Vikings. I think they smell blood in the water. They know they ain't got to worry about the Bears. They are so happy they don't have to worry about the Packers. To make a deal within the division.
That's crazy. That's
crazy. And they're 5-1 or 6-1.
It don't matter. They're not doing nothing.
Well, listen, hold on. I don't.
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you were saying they were. No. I know that, but it's like they're not getting past the 49ers or the Eagles. All right.
I don't think so either. I don't think so.
They may not get past the Cowboys.
It's the NFL. You just want to put yourself in the dance. You see what happened. You never know. So I think it's the Vikings. They know this is their division. They could run roughshod with it. I thought the Packers might do get about 9 or 10 games. I knew they wasn't going to be the Packers of old, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. So they know they're done. So in the Lions, they might worry about the Detroit. So they ain't got to worry about them. So it's really, to me, it's the Vikings. They smell something in the air. And it's like, yo, let's go for it. I don't blame them.
They smell that Irv Smith wasn't getting it done. Is what they smell it. It smells like Irv ain't the one. Remember initially when they was going to get rid of Cal Rudolph, and then he came back. It was like, man, we got your replacement. Nah, you didn't. Right? Like, no, you didn't. Look, the Vikings in the division trade was my pick also. The Bradley Chubb one, we talked to David Ferones from the Sun Sentinel today. And that one was the one that the Dolphins have been sniffing around lately. I thought about, and we talked about prior to the show under center Calvin Ridley, I thought about Calvin Ridley coming here, right? But one, the thing would be you don't maybe get him back to next season. Maybe. Remember, he has to come and ask the league to reinstate him, and they have to reinstate him.
But he was gambling, right? That's the one that was against. Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
Roll Tide, baby. So So hey man, sometimes it don't work. But also, and again, he's a better player, route runner than Darnell Mooney. But I also thought there was a little bit of redundancy bringing in someone like that compared to Chase Claypool, who's nothing like Darnell Mooney physically. You know what I'm saying? So that way you got a speed and radius guy in Claypool to go around with someone who is a guy that can kind of get out of breaks and do his things in Mooney. So I thought about the Calvin Ridley one, but also, and this is the thing too, look at the things that Jacksonville's doing. You went out and people poo-pooed them for giving them Christian Kirk all that money. They brought in Zay Jones from the Raiders. Now you're going to have Calvin Ridley in that receiver room next year. Like they're giving Trevor Lawrence a true chance and opportunity to prove if he is that generational talent that we've all been told and saw while he was at Clemson. So I'm gonna go with again what D went with as far as TJ Hawkinson. I wish I had in the draft because my tight end situation isn't what it should be in fantasy. But I was like, man, I wish, damn it. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that one too, because anything else, I would just be in a contrarian. Also, while I'm speaking about my fantasy, Jeff Wilson Jr., who I dropped because once Christian McCaffrey, I'll also say this. It didn't happen. You know what? This is what I was gonna say. I take that back. I'm going with the Christian McCaffrey deal after what he did this past weekend. If he stays healthy. Oh my, oh me, oh my, with the 49. And look, and that's with Debo out.
Yeah.
Like, oh me, oh my, on what Kyle Shanahan, the cap monster, can do if Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy. So I wanted all of that backfield. I was like, Jeff Wilson, you got to go. But I'm going to pick him back up if D doesn't get him after I just said that. Look, D's on his phone right now.
No, yeah, hey, that offense. I was, just thinking about it today with the fact that the Rams are just not looking good at all. So I think the 49ers are just going to come alive, especially, with Debo and CMC in the back. It's going to be nasty. And I think they're definitely, and Jimmy G's doing enough. So he's even more than enough. So
sometimes, sometimes that's all you need to do. Just do enough to get me there. Everything else to take it over. So, yeah, man, San Francisco right back there. I don't think they can beat the Eagles. But man, they're back though. Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. And definitely you guys did more than enough today. Appreciate you guys coming on, and hopefully we can do it sometime soon again. All right, guys. So thank you guys for joining us for this War Media trade deadline. I'm Saul Rodriguez, along with Ken Davis and Demonze Spurl. Hope you guys have a great night and enjoy the week.